Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cub Chat Live. Happy Friday. I'm Aaron. I'll be your host today. I'm joined by my good friend, as you can see, Anthony, the National Director of Cub Scouting. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, Aaron. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Anthony, I have a really quick story to share real quick with you and our audience that may or may not be related to our show today. My son
All right.
is 15 years old, okay? And every once in a while, he has these little sort of minor aches and pains, maybe in his knee or his elbow and his shoulder, and they're growing pains, is what they're
hmm
called. People call them growing pains, and they're just sort of minor inconveniences. It's a sign that things are doing well. He's doing good. He's getting bigger. He's growing, which is good. And once you learn how to deal with these minor growing pains, you learn that it's just kind of a part of life and it's fine. Gosh, I wonder if that, I don't know. Anyway, what
I
are we
don't know.
talking about today, Anthony?
That kind of connects right to what we're talking about. We're seeing explosive growth with a lot of packs that we're having new, traditional recruitment methods are back open, and we're able to recruit in person. And it's been years since we've been able to do that. And so for some packs that kind of during that time compressed down to maybe 10 or 12 key families are now having these recruitment events, and they're having 50, 60 new families join them, and now they're this pack of 70. And so last week, right, we did a great
Yep.
show. Mike was excellent, talking about, okay, if that's you, we're describing you or potentially you because you've got a recruitment event coming up. Here are the quick things that you can do.
Yep.
And I think you've got that. I think you've got that list of what those
Yes,
were.
exactly. For those of you who might have missed last week's show, these are kind of the four major takeaways. Now, I do encourage you, as with all of our shows, you can go back and watch the show from last week. Just because we did it live last week doesn't mean you can't still go back and watch it. It might very well be worth your time to watch it. But for now, by the yes, thank you, Brian. Those are our archives right there. For now, here are the four main sort of takeaways: how to deal with a growing pack. Some packs growing exponentially. Number one, make sure new families are feeling welcomed. Number two, conduct an early parent meeting just to make sure everybody's on the same page. Introduce yourself. Remember, a lot of these folks may not be as familiar with scouting as you are. They might not have grown up in the program. They might not know what's a Cub Scout, what's a Boy Scout. Always good to have a parent meeting, get all that stuff out of the way, have a fun and engaging pack event early, just to sort of show to everybody, hey, this is what it's about. This is fun. When I was a Cub Scout leader, we used to always do rockets. That was always a good early season event, but you do whatever works for you guys. And number four, this is big. Start delegating. You can't do it all yourself. I've tried. I bet Anthony probably has
Right.
tried too. You really can't do it all yourself. Um, thanks to those who are already watching and already commenting. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. We've got this guy here on right now. That's what he's here for. He's going to answer your questions. Shout out to Todd who's watching. Todd from Troop 601, Teresa from Pack 109, Michelle from Pack 811, Christine is watching, Rusty is watching. Thank you so much, guys. As we said, kind of a continuation of last week's show. But Anthony, start us off this week as we sort of continue this discussion and move forward. What are our main points we want to make this week?
Yeah, so we've got those four basic things that we talked about last week that, okay, this happened to you now. Those are the quick things to keep in mind. Um, Now we're going to talk about foundation building. So you and I think we had similar experiences as Cub Masters. We started with a small group of like maybe 10 or 12, and then we had some growth over time to 40 or 50 or 60. When you are a Cub Master or committee chair of a pack of 10 or 12 families, um, you can't do it. You can do it all. It's really not too difficult to manage that small of a group. But when you start growing exponentially, you can't do that anymore, right? So that last tip of start delegating is so important. We're going to cover other key foundational items that you want to make sure are in place. And if you don't have them in place now, it's not too late. Gather your new families, gather your key leadership, and talk these things through and work out a plan. So this is the season of fundraising. Uh, in fact, my wife and I were at an art festival this past weekend, and there were scouts selling popcorn, and of course we bought some popcorn, and so that brings us to the first element that you want to make sure you have really solid in your pack, and that is if you don't have a pack budget. Now's the time to really make sure it is a top priority. A poorly funded pack is a disaster. It really folds. And if you want parents to get upset, and if you yeah, those are just all negative things that happen when the finances aren't in order. So make sure that you have a strong pack budget. Now we have tools to help you do that on scouting.org, on the Cub Scout main page under pack committee resources. We've got two great items. The QR code right there gets you directly to that page. Just scroll down towards the bottom. We have a list of all these great resources that are online and free for PAC committees. And this one specifically, we've got two. That one is you're planning your annual PAC budget. And so it's kind of like a step by step. It literally says step one, do this, step two, do this. And then we have an Excel sheet that's a fillable Excel sheet. We got all the formulas already embedded into the sheet, and you just plug it in, and that's a good foundation. Now that's not the only way to write your budget, but we found that we've already got pre-plugged in for you what the cost of adventure loops are, what the cost of advancements are. All those types of things are already there for you to get you started. So all those things are right there on scouting.org.
Awesome. Awesome. We got a lot of folks commenting. Our good friend Eric actually has a really good question in the comment. His unit has grown so much, they've almost outgrown their meeting place. That's probably
Yes.
you're probably not the only person, Eric, that has gone through that. If anybody has any answers to Eric, please leave them in the comments. Anthony, any advice you can give our friend Eric?
Absolutely. The personal experience I had with this is that we went through like 4 different meeting places in the short time I was in our pack, and it's because we're continuously looking for improvement and we were growing, and so now's a good time if you have a strong relationship with your charter partner. Right. It depends on how your pack meets, right? Does your pack have all the den meetings all the same time at the same place, the same location? Some do that. And if that's happening, that might be overwhelming. You may have to look at having dens meet on different nights of the week and split it up that way. And then when you do have pack meetings, you may have to get more creative, and maybe it is going to a community center. Maybe it is another special location. Maybe if the weather's great, like here in Texas, finally getting to a place where you're not melting when you walk outside,
Yep.
is have it at the park, right? Have something that's more event or activity driven, and that's one way of going about it. But the best plan is going to be the plan that you gather your key leadership, your parents, you share that challenge together, and you see what happens, and have people be part of that solution.
Awesome. Awesome. I want to give a quick shout out to Ona, who is watching from Pack 191. Emily says, awesome. She's interested in the topic. We've got a few more comments. We will get to those. I also want to give a very, very brief, quick shout out, if I could, real quick, to the councils out there who are cross-posting our live video today. Shout out to the Greater St. Louis Council, our good friends, National Capital Area, Golden Gate, Indian Nations, Daniel Webster, Atlanta area, Capital Area, Narragansett, Connecticut Rivers. By the way, I pronounced that a lot better than Gina did last week. Thank you.
I think you nailed it.
Baltimore area, Chief Seattle, Patriots Path, Alamo area, and Longhorn. We appreciate you guys posting this. Let's get back.
That's in Providence, Rhode Island, by the way. That's the council in Rhode Island, so we do know where that is.
Yes. Thank you very much. Okay, so Anthony, you were talking about budget and the importance of having a budget. How does having a budget, having a healthy pack budget and a plan like that, what's the relationship between that and delivering the program, right? Because people are thinking, well, I just want to teach kids how to be good citizens or whatever. What's the relationship between a budget and delivering that program?
Right. And then coming out of the gate of saying, oh, now we have to fundraise, right? We just joined, now we have to fundraise.
Yes.
And some people get upset about that. And we found that the reason why they get upset about it is because it's never explained to them why they're fundraising, right? That the rationale behind it. And once you start explaining that, then it starts making sense. A good pack budget accounts for things like, how much does it cost per scout when we build out an awesome program year, not just average, but really awesome. Do your den leaders have a budget to work with for every den meeting so that they can buy crafts and supplies and you're not expecting them to be out of pocket for those things? Are you making sure you're accounting for all the awards and recognitions for the year? Do you have special trips or special activities like your Blue and Gold or Pinewood Derby or other things that you do as a pack that perhaps through pack dues you could fund? A really strong budget allows your pack to also buy bigger items, things like if you don't have a Pinewood Derby track, you can buy one, right? If you have some camping gear that you want as a pack, you can purchase that. You can put that, you can build that into your budget, and then you share that with everyone, and then everyone knows, oh, okay, you're asking for this because this is it, right? This is we're going to get all this for our dues, and we understand where it's going. And when they see it, right? I go to den meetings, and my scout is getting excellent crafts. They're not having to do recycle, taking recycled materials or pulling stuff out of the trash to do activities, but rather they're really are having a good time and are able to do special things as a den, not just as a pack, because it is properly funded.
Excellent, excellent. Christine has a really good comment. They did a cardboard, and she capitalizes CAR, cardboard drive-in, the week before meeting started. Watched a movie, Cars 2, had popcorn. Some of the cars were awesome. I'm guessing they made like these cardboard cars. That's very, very
I got
cool.
you right.
Christine.
You're right. That's awesome.
Yes, that's very cool, Christine. Good job by
that.
you. She says their dens have doubled in size, and they added extra tiger and lion dens. Awesome, Christine. John,
I love that activity. That's like point number 2 or 3 that we had from last week, right? Have an awesome pack activity, right? Not a hard thing to do, right? A fun craft that kids get to make their own cardboard cars and have a drive-in, and you show a movie. It's super fun. It's engaging, and it's bringing folks together. It's fun, and what I like about that is as the movie's playing, right, some of the leaders in that pack could probably be walking around talking to parents, getting to know parents, welcoming them to Cub Scouting. I love that idea. Thanks for sharing that.
Awesome, Christine. Appreciate that. Quick shout out to John from Pack 340. Todd says, hi, Omer, one of our loyal viewers. Thank you for watching. John notes that we are a large pack, too large for their charting location. So they're doing pack meetings at a nonprofit hall. It looks like they had to connect some folks in their community. I would imagine that there are a lot of nonprofits in your area that if you say, hey, we're a Cub Scout pack looking for a place to meet, I bet there's a lot of folks who will work with you. If we don't have whatever our charting organization is too small, the school, for whatever reason, we can't do it there. Cub Scouts, those 2 words get you in the door, in my experience.
A lot of times. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right.
Ona with a really good question. We've addressed this in the past, but it's probably worth addressing this again, Anthony. How many cubs should be in each den before you decide to expand to a second den?
Ooh.
That's happened a lot. We've addressed that before, but I think maybe we could talk about it again real quick, Anthony.
Yeah, and fear of making sure that we don't say that you have to have these number of kids in a den.
Right.
We're going to share the reason why we say this is 8 is a good den size, and the reason for that is because it's a manageable small group. It's easier to get interaction. No Cub Scout gets lost in a big group. So those are reasons to keep them small. Now, that's not a mandate. So if you do have a den that has 15 kids and you've got good adult leadership that's able to manage that, and you have a good process for that, and that's working for you, great. Don't split it up for the sake of splitting up. But if you are seeing problems with that large den, then yes, I think that's when you might want to start exploring, okay, well, maybe we need to make 2 dens that are smaller. I think it also makes it easier to recruit den leaders. It's less intimidating to say, we want you to help these 6 kids with their rank, compared to, we need you to help these 20 kids with their rank, right? And so I think it also makes it a little bit easier and less daunting to be a den leader.
And I would say there's no reason why, depending on course on the meeting space you have, if you split it up into 2 dens, there's no reason why you still can't meet, separately but together, or together but separately, if you will. And you're both doing maybe the same things. You just have them separated to keep it more manageable. Maybe that would make a new den leader not feel quite as overwhelmed. Hey, I'm going to be over here on the other side of the room if you need anything. It's not like you have to do this all on your own necessarily. Lots of different options there. I like the flexibility there. Mustafa points out, thanks for this advice. Hey, we're happy to do it. Thank you for watching. We appreciate that. Christine of the Cardboard Extravaganza says, yes, they had a parents meeting during the movie. Well, what if the parents want to watch the movie? Can't the parents get to watch the movie too?
Sure,
just kidding.
But,
I'm just kidding, of course.
How many times can you watch Cars 3,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
There's a limit.
Yes, it's true. It's all on. Yes, exactly right. Cubs made cardboard cars and even had a bus Very, very cool. Okay, so we talked about pack budget. Anthony, is there anything else about pack budget we need to address before we move on?
Yeah, so when the parents, when you have your pack budget built out and you share that with the parents and you're showing them, okay, this is why we have pack dues. We find that most successful packs, what they do is they inform their families, okay, these are our pack dues. This is what it pays for. They don't ask for the money immediately. They give them the option to participate in a fundraiser to pay off those dues. So, for example, your pack dues may be $100, and so what you say is pack dues are $100. You can write a check for that. Or if you participate in our fundraiser and you reach $500 as a sales goal, then you don't owe dues, right? That is a great way to have parental engagement. They understand now why you're doing a product fundraiser. They're vested in the idea, and uh, you know I found one pack that shared with me what they did was they actually have two different numbers. One is if you just want to write a check and not participate in the product fundraiser, that cost is a little bit higher than than if you
Mm-hmm.
just participate in the pack fundraiser. And so that's an example that was working for them, and that's something that their parents and leadership agreed to, and they liked that idea, and it was working for them because they were bought into it. But sharing with parents, here are our pack dues. This is why we do the fundraiser. And when we do this, right, you're able to not have to write another check. And we're able to have an awesome program year because of it. And when they go to their first den meeting and their Cub Scout comes home with an awesome craft or something fun, some kind of fun activity, or they realize after a couple of weeks that they're able to go to a pack meeting and there's snacks and soda and or there's things for them to do and displays and food to eat that the pack covers. They're like, oh, I get it now. I see where the money's going. It's when they don't see the money where it's being
Mm-hmm.
spent, they go, well, why are we doing this fundraiser?
Right. Totally makes sense. Our good friend Rob, I think, has a really good point here. Their dues are due, he says, around November 1st. And that gives folks, several months in the fall to fundraise and not have to pay those dues. Rob himself says he never paid for a scout. Knowing Rob, he and his son, probably excellent at fundraising. But that's a good
That's a
idea.
great point, right? So
Yeah.
in our budget planning worksheet that's on scouting.org, we actually have you build out the registration costs, the registration fees, Scout Life magazine. You build everything into your pack budget. So the only time you have to write a check is when you first join Scouts.
Mm-hmm.
After that, you participate in our fundraising activities because that's our financial plan.
Right.
You don't have to pay any more.
Mm-hmm.
Next recharter season, you don't have to chase parents asking for checks for money to renew their membership. You already have it. It's already part of the pack budget. This is what super packs do, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are really strong, successful packs. Now we do have a training, actual training modules on scouting on my.scouting. These are part of the pack committee chair training modules. However, you can be any position as long as you have a my.scouting account. You can take this training. To find it, you just find the Cub Scout section and you look for Pack Committee Chair Training. And this is part of earning your trained patch. And it is Pack Finances, which is only 8 minutes long, and annual program planning for Cub Scouts. And the reason why those are intertwined is you build your pack budget based off of the program that you're planning for the year.
Mm-hmm.
We would plan a super summer activity every year and build that into our budget and into our fundraising. So our spring fundraiser that we did, the goals were set so that the kids could earn a ticket for them and their parent or an adult to go with them, and we would take a pack trip somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And to us, we thought that was a great way to empower a Cub Scout to be able to do something and then bring their parent instead of their parent having to front the bill and bring them, right?
Mm-hmm.
It kind of switches that that dynamic. And we,
Yes.
as a pack, that was part of our mission, right? That was one of our missions that we thought was successful. That's why we did it that way. Not the only way to do it, but that's
Right.
what we thought was successful.
Right. We are about 2/3 of our way through our discussion with Mr. Anthony about growing Cub Scout packs. And we just addressed the pack budget and the financial plan. I think we've covered all of that, Anthony. What else do folks need to know? What's the next step once you have that under control?
Yeah,
What's
the
next?
next key foundation, right? If we're talking about pillars or foundation building, this is the next one. And if you watched last week's show, you heard it a lot. Communicate, communicate, communicate. That is key. And so here are some tips and tricks on communicating and setting up your communication plan. So you want to actually have this conversation. Don't just wing your communication plan. Actually build one. So the way that you can do that is take your families together. And now's a great time, especially if you've got a whole bunch of new families, you got lots of new dynamics there. Find out from them, what platforms do they engage with. I like to use the old example of I was ready to send out all these emails to my leaders and new families when we got new families in, and after about the second meeting, I realized no one was reading my emails. Instead of taking that personally, I realized not everyone has a job or a career where they're watching or looking at email every day, right? They have a personal email account that they only check maybe once a week. So we asked, what's your all's preferred method to communicate with? And they all said, text messages is great. Fantastic. So we started using text messages and we found instantly 100% effective. Everyone was getting the message. And in fact, we found that most people were replying to our text messages, so that we definitely knew they were getting the message. Today, there's so many different platforms out there that when you talk to parents, you may find out they're already using and are highly engaged on some other platforms. Things like WhatsApp, GroupMe, or Band. Those are examples of great mass communication systems, but more importantly, it allows a parent to be able to engage with the leadership of the pack and get a quick response. So part of that communication plan is making sure that you have one, if not more, dedicated leaders who are watching that channel. And so if someone does post a question, someone got the time wrong or the address wrong, and they're sitting in the parking lot and they're brand new, and nothing's more frustrating than you're like, where is everyone? Right. And I don't have anyone to communicate. I didn't get the Cub Master's phone number. I don't know who, right. We just joined last week. So making sure that they're signed up with that communication tool, they can ping, oh, I'm in the parking lot right now. Did I get something wrong? And then a leader can say, yes, it's, 11:05, not 11:06. We're across the street.
Mm-hmm.
So those are things that you want to keep in mind. The other aspect of your communication plan is we have for you built into Scout Book for your meeting plans, built-in meeting reminders. And those are not just email messages, they can also be text messages too. So you can set that up as reminders for your meetings in Scout Book, and then have a platform that parents can easily access to ask questions or to engage leadership in instantly.
And I want to maybe just very, very quickly call back to one more thing we said last week. And that was, I can't remember which number it was on our list, but delegation. If it's not within your personality to be emailing people and texting people or whatever, there's probably somebody else in your pack who can do it. That person who's, we all know folks who are very
Yep.
active on social media who just love posting updates. Maybe that's your communication chair. There's nothing that says that you, the Cub Master, or you, the committee chair, or whoever, that you have to do that. You can delegate someone, as long as they have a point person they can talk to, right? I think that probably would solve that
Yes.
need, right, Anthony?
It does. And you mentioned something that as we're reaching out to a new generation of parents, I would be cautious with titles right away, right? Like I
Okay.
wouldn't I wouldn't ask a parent, oh, you're going to be our communications chair now. Some parents today may be like, oh, I don't know about that, right? But if you say, hey, could you send out
Could you
all
just
the
be the one who
messages,
sends out
right?
messages? Yeah, right.
They'll be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll be happy to do that, right? Completely different attitude. So
Well, that's a
when
great
you are
point.
delegating, don't talk about positions and titles. Focus on the tasks that need to get done and ask people to do tasks. Delegate the tasks, and you'll be amazed at how much support you can get from parents, instead of staying in a room and say, hey, we need someone to be the chair of this, or we need
What a
someone to be
great
this
point.
leader.
I love that. Yes, that is brilliant, Anthony. I wish I knew that 6 years ago.
I
A quick shout out to Arnold, who's watching from the East Trinity Trails District in the Circle 10 Council. Pack 2540 from Killeen, Texas is in the house. Shout out to Rusty, who's watching. Corey, how are you doing, sir? Thank you for watching. Corey from Pack 3010 in Leawood, Kansas. Our pack grew last year and grew even more this year.
All right.
And they still have applications out there. So they might still be in the process of growing. Thank
Good
you,
job,
Corey. Appreciate that very, very much. Okay. Finances, communication. Anthony,
Yes.
what's next?
Two big pillars, right?
Yep.
Those are two key things. But I think encompassing both of those things are three simple statements that I want everyone to always keep in mind. One, keep it simple, make it fun, do your best, right? It is break it down to simplicity. Don't make things too overly complex. Don't be too hard on yourself, and find ways to make it fun. There's an old management book about I think it's called Fish, where these fishmongers in Seattle, being a fishmonger, not the most joyful thing, and they turned around their business model simply by having fun at their job, and they started throwing fish around, and they were yelling and screaming and making a big, they were having fun doing what traditionally was a very laborious and tiring job. And it's amazing when you bring fun into something, how much energy you can bring to the table, how people will come out of their shells and kind of break down their concerns when they're having fun. They're more themselves. And so make sure you're making it fun for yourself, for the parents that are involved. We were talking about making it fun for our scouts, but don't forget the parents. Make sure parents are involved in the games and the activities. Don't set the expectation that parents are allowed to sit in the corner on their phones. And I say, there's a scouting way to do this by being friendly, but pull them out and encourage them to participate. Do songs that require interaction and movement. Those things make it fun, and parents start bonding with their children and forming friendships with other parents. And now you're starting to build a pack community. And overall, that is really what makes fantastic packs. They build a community, not just your pack community, but just think about it. Most of your kids are going to the same school. You probably live within the same area. You're probably shopping at the same grocery store. You are a community, and you have the power to make your community great. And then lastly, just do your best, right? This is not only is this the motto for Cub Scouts, this is a great motto for our adults too, right? Sometimes we may feel overburdened. There might be work pressures that are going on, things that are keeping us from being able to put our all into it. But just do your best. And when you develop those friendships, you can easily ask other people, hey, I'm not feeling it this week. Can you help me out? Can you lead the song? Or can you do just this activity or craft, and lean on each other. That is what makes a great Cub Scout pack, and that's what makes a great pack community.
Awesome, awesome, excellent. Just a few more questions and comments before we let you go, Anthony. Here's a pretty good question, I think, actually. You mentioned Scoutbook, using Scoutbook to communicate. How do people sign up for Scoutbook, Anthony? Some folks,
Well,
they
yeah,
don't
right.
know.
That's right. It's
We just
Scoutbook is
assumed,
actually
right?
right. Scoutbook is our free online platform, and it's the official record of your scout and you, if you're a registered leader or a parent. Excuse me, or a parent. So scoutbook.com. Just go in there. Make sure you have, if you're a registered leader, have your leader ID. If you have a child in the program, have their member ID, and you can easily connect into your unit. If you are a Cub Master, pack committee chair, along with your charter organization representative, you guys have administrative rights to that platform, and you can set things up and give permissions to parents and leaders, and then parents can connect through the scouting app. Now that's a downloadable app, and that's a resource that we shared, I think, two episodes ago,
Mm-hmm.
and how all that works. But yeah, Scoutbook is free. You just go to scoutbook.com. Very easy to find, and your unit is already preloaded in there. It's the official record of scouting. So even if your unit has never used it before, you'll find your whole rosters in there already. All the advancement for all your youth are in there. Everything's already preloaded, so you're good to go.
That's one of maybe the coolest things about Scoutbook. You don't have to worry about syncing it up or anything like that, or typing in rosters or things like that. It's official. Once you log
Yep.
in, you are good to go. Christine notes that her group, they use GroupMe, which we've heard from a lot of folks that they use techniques like that. They have one for the parents and one for the leaders. They add parents immediately so they don't miss anything. They send emails from Scoutbook, and the calendar on Scoutbook, she says, is great also. Thank you, Christine, for sharing
Yeah,
that.
that's a good example of. I'm going to guess that Christine did exactly what we're talking about. You talk with your parents and your leaders and say, okay, what platform are you guys on? Because we need to have something that is this gap filler between when we have the sign up or even just an interest meeting, right? Maybe they're coming and they didn't sign up right away. So we don't have an application to process. We don't have them in the system. We don't have them in Scoutbook. So having some kind of communication tool to fill that gap until we can get them into
Perfect.
Scoutbook,
Yep.
that is perfect.
Yes, awesome. Alex from Gladstone, Oregon says they doubled in size last year and they're going to double in size again. Woo! This year. Exciting. And Alex can be a little bit scary too. Hey, we just said it earlier, growing pains, it's good. It's a good thing. I mean, yes, these are growing pains. You deal with it. You work through it. We just gave you a bunch of tips. Alex, I hope you watched last week's episode and I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. He says he's really thankful. You're welcome. Well, you're welcome.
Imagine that, right? Imagine if you were just 15. If they just started at 15, they're now looking at 60.
Yes,
right?
Yes,
We doubled
exactly.
at 15. We went to 30. Now we're going to double again. Now we're going to go to 60. Wow, that's cool. A lot of growth.
Yes. Daryl says that scouting is a super important thing. He enjoys scouting a lot. And Melissa says from Pack 6 last fall to 30. From not Pack 6, went from 6 to 30 this fall. Pack 679 in Las Vegas. Melissa, awesome. Keep up the good work. We appreciate that. We hope you've enjoyed Cub Chat Live. Hopefully we can be of help to some folks. Great discussion. Anthony, any final closing thoughts before we let the folks go today?
No, just those last words, right? Just make sure you keep it simple, make it fun, and remember, do your best, right? Those things will carry you a long way. Have fun with it. This is Cub Scouting is an enjoyable experience, and like most things that are fun and enjoyable, they're even more fun and more enjoyable when you bring other people along with you, and you build a team around you. You build a community. That's just the magic of Cub Scouting. So keep that in mind. I'm so pleased to see such great growth and folks who are listening, who care, who are concerned, right? Because it's one thing to get our Cub Scouts to join. It's another to keep them. And now that's where we need to turn our attention is to making sure that we're keeping our families engaged, having fun, and being involved. And remember, don't panic, right? Don't panic.
Do your best. Hey, I use that a lot. I use that a lot in life, Anthony. Just do your best. Ona says this is an amazing chat and a perfect topic for the Cub Masters. Thank you, Ona. Feel free to tag your friends in this video, Ona. Share it with your friends. Last week's and this week's also now here in just a few minutes will both be available in our archives. Share them with everybody. This is an issue that a lot of folks are having in a good way. A lot of growth out there. We're very excited about that. I know Anthony's excited about it. I'm excited as well. Good job today, Anthony. Appreciate you joining us. Thank you for all those folks who watched. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll be back next Friday with another episode of Cub Chat Live. Bye, everybody. Good job, Anthony.
Thanks, Aaron. You too.